What just happened? Prigozhin calls off his coup, and perhaps calling it a coup is not appropriate. For it to be a coup, you have to take into custody or assassinate the guy in charge. Prigozhin never really came close. This was more of an armed rebellion, but it was over as fast as it started. Here's a tweet from Ukraine Battle Map. I was in the middle of developing my Russian battle map, and it just ended. The map makers couldn't even get their information out, as this was over in 24 hours. I spent the time on Twitter making memes, and these memes, I guess, are already obsolete. And here's the statement that Prigozhin put out. They were going to dismantle PMC Wagner. We came out on June 23rd to the March of Justice. In a day, we walked to nearly 200 kilometers away from Moscow. In this time, we did not spill a single drop of blood of our fighters. This is a lie. Now the moment has come when blood may spill. That's why understanding the responsibility for spilling Russian blood on one of the sides, we are turning back our convoys and going back to field camps according to the plan. Prigozhin has never had a problem spilling Russian blood, either his soldiers or anyone in Russia. So this is nonsense. And Lukashenko, of all the people, is the one who negotiated some kind of deal with Prigozhin. Lukashenko put out a statement looking like the hero of this situation. And why did Lukashenko become the mediator in negotiations with Prigozhin? I think the answer is simple. Wagner convoys were only a few hours away from Moscow. If they had captured the capital, they would take control of government buildings, including the Kremlin. That would lead to the collapse of Putin's regime, and that in turn would have caused the collapse of Lukashenko's regime. That's why one rushed to save the other. Lukashenko is the longest-serving dictator in Europe. If Putin's regime collapses, he's not going to be far behind. So Lukashenko was motivated to figure out how to resolve this problem. And here's the video of Prigozhin relinquishing control of the city of Rostov-on-Don, getting in a van and going to the airport to fly to Belarus. Look at the reception he's getting from the people on the streets. Crowds were seen chanting Wagner, Wagner, and just like Ariana Grande leaving an after party at the Grammys, paparazzi were trying to get those pictures because Prigozhin is a rock star among the common people of Russia. Kremlin spokesperson Peskov says that the case against Prigozhin will be dropped. He'll be given complete immunity for his crimes and be allowed to retire in Belarus. How does that work? But the damage to Prigozhin was already done. The FSB raided his headquarters in St. Petersburg, confiscated all of his passports. He had numerous passports with different names. They apprehended gold bricks. They confiscated 48 million US dollars that was being stored in suitcases. For all the bots out there saying that the US dollar is collapsing and bricks is the future, well, US currency is the favored currency of the Wagner mercenary group. So what was the deal that Lukashenko struck? And nobody is publicly saying what the deal is, but privately there are rumors swirling. The first one is that there will be major changes in Russia's Ministry of Defense leadership. Nobody has seen or heard from Shoigu and Gerasimov. The speculation is that Putin agreed that over the next 2 or 3 months, they will be phased out. They're not going to be publicly executed, but they are going to be forced to retire and they'll be replaced by literally anyone else. Additionally, the FSB has agreed to drop the criminal case and the arrest warrant for Prigozhin. Any members of the Wagner Group that participated in the rebellion will get immunity. And there are members of the Wagner Group not happy with Prigozhin's decision to give up on the rebellion. Lots of these Wagner mercenaries are now deciding to leave the group, and the Russian Ministry of Defense is going to absorb all of these guys. For all intents and purposes, the Wagner Group doesn't exist anymore. They can't use that name. They don't want anyone talking about Prigozhin. They're going to be absorbed into different Russian units. Dmitry over at War Translated monitors all these Russian Telegram channels, and people are not happy that Prigozhin didn't go all the way, that he gave up. Here's the official Telegram channel for Wagner, and whoever operates this is not happy with what Prigozhin did. This is the 58-second soundbite that Prigozhin gave. I read it for you. And they added, "Statement of the most promising politician. He merged. The trip to Moscow is canceled. Already a politician with dubious prospects. I'm breaking my contract." Whoever operates the Wagner Telegram channel just announced he's quitting. And it's because just yesterday he posted this: "Putin made the wrong choice. All the worse for him. Soon we will have a new president." So that's awkward. But for a brief 24 hours, Prigozhin was allowed to say whatever he wanted. He was allowed to speak the truth in Russia. Literally the only guy allowed to do that. And he put out video after video claiming that the invasion of February 24th by Russia was all nonsense. Ukraine and NATO were not a threat to Russia. All of the justifications for this war were a complete lie. There was no need to demilitarize or denazify Ukraine. Of course, there are no Nazis in the Ukrainian government. And the real reason for the war, he blamed Shoigu, saying Shoigu wanted, more fame for himself. But the real reason is the oligarchic clan that rules Russia wanted more for themselves. As soon as Russia took the capital city of Kyiv, they were going to steal and absorb everything for themselves. The oligarchs of Russia just wanted Ukraine's resources and industries, absorbing it into their own, making themselves even richer. This is what Prigozhin said to the Russian people. Additionally, when Prigozhin took the Southern Military District Capitol building, he claimed that he had seen the evidence that Russia was experiencing horrendous losses, 3 to 4 times greater than what the field commanders are reporting. He said that over 1,000 Russian soldiers a day are being killed and wounded, and the evidence is in the Southern Military District office. Additionally, Putin gave an address to the nation saying that the rebellion would be crushed, everyone would be held accountable, and 6 hours later he said, "Just kidding, Prigozhin's cool, he can go retire in Belarus, nobody will be held accountable." And this was a real war. There were 5 helicopters shot down and 1 airplane by the Wagner mercenaries. 15 Russian service members lost their lives, including 13 Russian military pilots. Never mind the plane or the helicopters, Russia has plenty of those. But these military pilots with years or decades of training, that's a serious loss for the Russian military and their war effort in Ukraine. I'm trying to imagine a scenario where 13 US Air Force military pilots were killed in a single day, and there was no justice for them. Nothing would come of it. Nobody is held accountable for the deaths of these pilots. To me, as an American service veteran, this is insane, but in Russia, they just call this Friday. Solovyov admitted to it on Kremlin state TV. Helicopter crews and plane crews perished as the Wagner mercenaries fired on them. And it's just super awkward. They had construction crews out in the morning destroying and digging up the roads, laying landmines, and 12 hours later, those same construction crews had to fill in the holes and repair the roads that they had destroyed that morning. That's insane. So what does Gherkin have to say? I have to admit with great bitterness that the Russian Federation is one step closer to its final and irrevocable demise. As of today, the Russian Federation has two presidents. The real president, Yevgeny Prigozhin, and then Vladimir Putin, the acting president, to serve the rest of his term. The main purpose of Putin, the acting president, is to periodically address the real president, kneeling down with the question, "What do you want, Yevgeny?" Never in my worst nightmare I couldn't imagine that I would see this shame and destruction of my country. So the only reason why Gherkin is still alive and able to say whatever he wants is because the FSB is protecting him. I'm sure the Russian MOD and maybe even Putin himself wants this guy dead, but the FSB won't do it. The FSB are starting to tell Putin no. And I think that is what the deal was. Here's a tweet from Garry Kasparov. Mafia is as mafia does. Whatever deal was reached today, blood has been spilled, and Putin's illusion of invincibility is gone. He and his cronies tasted real fear. Moscow was threatened. So for the power players in the Russian government, Putin's not their guy. Putin is no longer invincible. They need a succession plan. They need to start thinking about who is going to lead the Russian government, even if it is a mafia state, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It's not going to be Putin. Here it is. Prigozhin may be eyeing challenge to Putin in 2024. So what is this secret deal with Lukashenko that got Prigozhin to stand down? And I think Prigozhin is running for president. As long as Prigozhin is still alive, he is never going to stop plotting to take the throne for himself. He enjoys the power and attention too much. So, of course, Putin wants Prigozhin dead, and Prigozhin knows this, and the only way Prigozhin would have stopped this rebellion is if he got a security guarantee from the FSB, basically the same deal that Gherkin has, that somebody in the middle of the night, several months from now, isn't going to throw him out a window or poison him. So Prigozhin talked to the real power in the FSB and got a security guarantee from them, and also a security guarantee from Lukashenko for whatever that's worth. So Prigozhin is going to go the political route. If the FSB wanted to take Putin into custody and anoint Prigozhin ruler of Russia this week, Prigozhin would have taken it. But I think the FSB told Prigozhin, just wait. Wait until the presidential election coming next spring. I think it's in February or March. You can run for office from exile in Belarus. We'll make sure that you're on the ballot. Doesn't really matter who the people vote for. The elections in Russia are all rigged. So if the FSB wants to replace Putin in a relatively peaceful transfer of power, they can just do it in the presidential election next spring and allow Prigozhin to become the new figurehead of Russia. Is he the real power? No, it's the FSB. But they might have made a deal with Prigozhin. Avoid the bloodshed, avoid the fighting, avoid burning down Moscow. And we need a successor to Putin anyways. Putin's in his 70s, he's shown his weakness, he no longer has the real support of the people. The people want action, they want strength. And Prigozhin's the only one with name and face recognition that could potentially lead the Russian people going forward. So I also think that Lukashenko wanted in on this deal for his own security and safety. Russia wants to absorb Belarus, just annex it. Ideally, Lukashenko would then just retire. But if there are brokers in Belarus that want to maintain their independence to stop their resources and industries being absorbed by the oligarchs, the only way Belarus can remain independent is if they stop Putin. If Putin just leaves, goes away, he got too powerful. I mean, this is crazy, but Prigozhin is still alive, and he's not going to stop. The idea he's just going to retire and stop being a warlord, warlords don't do that. Final couple thoughts. This from Jessica Berlin. Prigozhin put Putin under pressure, and what happened? He negotiated. The path to negotiations with Russia is to put them under more pressure, not less. The number one takeaway of the last 24 hours, now is the time to give Ukraine everything they need to win. Long-range missiles, jets, more air defense, tanks, ammo. Russia is weak, and their homemade chaos only weakens them further. Help Ukraine strike while the iron is hot and end this war faster. Well said. Final clip I want to play for you is from Maria Avdiva. She's a journalist, and she just wants to show you what Ukraine is doing. Trying to get back to life as normal, trying to recover from the devastation that Russia has caused. And here is what the train looks like going from Kyiv to Kharkiv.
This is me, Maria Avdieva. I am on a train from Kyiv to Kharkiv. I am now mostly based in Kyiv, but try to visit my home city as often as I can. The train is fully packed with people. Some people are returning home, some are bringing kids back or bringing their pets back. There are a lot of military who go closer to the front lines, and then they will go back fighting. And all these people, they are Ukraine. They are the symbol of resilience and resistance of people in Ukraine who, no matter what, continue fighting, continue resisting. And this is why Ukraine will win. Slava Ukraini!
That train is nicer than anything we have in the United States, being honest. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.